Hi everyone, I'm Srikumar Nair, and I'm a Principal Group Program Manager on the Dataverse team in Microsoft. Some of the areas I work on are infrastructure as a service, licensing, business model, and improving efficiency of the overall Dataverse team. So I'm here to give you a book tour of my latest book, Digital Transformation with Dataverse for Teams. Before we get to the book tour, I wanted to give you some background on why I started or decided to write it. As we all know, we are living still in the midst of a pandemic. People's lives were turned upside down. A lot of folks lost their job. And of course, those who have the jobs adjusting to the remote work culture. It's around the same time that Microsoft announced Dataverse for Teams, which is a remote work platform as well as a digital transformation engine to improve efficiency of business processes. It's around the same time that Pawan from Packt Publishing reached out to me about this proposal. And I felt like I got my calling and I need to do this work definitely to help some of the folks to become citizen developer. So what is a citizen developer? Citizen developer is anyone like you or any guy who's just coming up fresh out of college, or any person who is not writing professional code in their day-to-day life. Those people always find it hard to learn coding and then get into this field. Citizen developer is somebody who, by leveraging some of their existing skills, something that is as basic as just creating a PowerPoint slide or using Excel formulas, can write very sophisticated applications or automate their business processes, or even create chatbots to answer some of their often asked questions on a public forum or something like that. And that's one intent of writing this book. My goal is to make sure everyone gets value out of this book. People will appreciate that low code, no code, as this platform is known as, will be your stepping stone or ladder to success in your career. So without wasting much time, let me start sharing my screen and walking you through what is there in my book here. All right, so definitely first things first, it's a book published by Packt Publishing, and definitely much thankful to Pawan for reaching out for this proposal, which helped me write this book altogether. I'm very helpful and very thankful to all the editors who are involved here, who have helped me get this book out in front of you. Of course, thankful for my family who have sacrificed a lot and been my backbone of support. And of course, not to forget all the frontline COVID warriors around the world who have been helping all of us to survive in this pandemic. What comes next is a foreword from Charles Lamanna. He's the corporate vice president for business applications. Of course, he's again making the pitch for Power Platform here, which is definitely the platform for future where you don't need to write code or invent code every day for everyday purposes. There is already so much of demand for business applications in the world, and equally known is the problem that we can't get enough professional developers to build these applications in a short span of time. So there's where the power of Power Platform comes through. Dataverse for Teams is definitely one of those means through which we can easily automate business processes and build applications in this space without having to ramp up too much on the professional coding skills. Let's look quickly at the index of the book. What is contained here? The book is broken down into sections. The first one is Introductions to Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. So here I try to introduce what is Dataverse for Teams. But before that, the first chapter just talks about what is digital transformation. It's a very loaded term that keeps thrown often in different forums. Digital transformation, how to understand what is digital transformation, why it is important, why it is more relevant in the current world, is what I try to cover here. Next is about exploring Dataverse for Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. We cover a little bit about what is Dataverse for Teams, how it encompasses the power of Power Apps that helps you build low-code, no-code applications. Then the Power Automate side of the business, which helps you to automate business processes through WYSIWYG controls through Advanced Designer without having to write any code there. And then, of course, the Power Virtual Agent, which is the smart chatbot that you can build by using a designer, where you just write your questions and answers and just define the flow of how you want the chat conversations to proceed without, again, writing a single line of code here. The next section, I take you straight into writing your first application. How do you think about the data first through data modeling, introducing Power Apps Build Hub in the team? That's where your designer studio or the place where you will start building your apps. And then how you create your very first table of data, or which is where your business data would be. And let me be very clear here, this is not just meant for businesses. Any nonprofit organization, any school, any college, any organization that you work for, this is that opportunity to help that organization improve their processes by digitally transforming the processes that have been there for ages, that might be paper-based, that might not even be on paper. This is your opportunity to build that application and flows and chatbots to fast track or bring efficiency to the processes all around. Once you got your first app up and running, I have to warn you enough to say this is an addictive platform. Once you start building the app, you will get hooked onto this platform and you will realize the power of the platform and how easy it is to build applications. Next, I will try to make the app, in chapter number 4, I try to make the app a little more complex or advanced, where you can start adding images and complex data types like file attachments that you can bring into the application. We move on to section 2, which is a deep dive into Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. Before going into Dataverse for Teams, you need to understand what is Dataverse. So Microsoft Dataverse is the rich data platform that helps you to structure business data and apply business logic on that, which is what is used by all the Fortune 500 companies around the world for running business applications. Microsoft Dataverse for Teams is a low-code, no-code platform carved out of the same Microsoft Dataverse with some of the same goodness thrown into it. But at the same time, this is packaged in such a way that it works inside of Teams and brings you the benefits of the Office Teams, Microsoft Teams, as well as the Microsoft Dataverse all together. So definitely, before we deep dive into Dataverse for Teams, I try to cover the capabilities of Microsoft Dataverse, the full rich platform that we have for building business applications. And then we move on to the next one about how to automate with Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. This is where after the app is built, now you want alerts coming out of those apps when certain business events happen. That is where my Microsoft Power Automate flows, or just Microsoft Flow as it was known earlier, comes into picture. You can build your automated flows and instantly get trigger notifications or alert notifications whenever certain trigger conditions are met. And that's what I try to cover in this chapter number 6. Chapter number 7 is about how you get started with building your first chatbot. Very simple flow on how to get started. That's what I covered in chapter 7. Chapter 8 is definitely an advanced topic like application and environment lifecycle management. What do you mean by application lifecycle management? Once you are getting into building applications for organizations, you will realize you can't just build an application and throw it over to all your end users to start using it. You have to build it in a small test environment, play with it and make sure everything looks right before you take it and move it to the production environment and say, now the app is live for use by the end users. Lifecycle management is all about how you build it in the dev environment, test it out, make sure it meets certain quality bar before promoting it to a production environment, which is ready for end users' consumption. And that's some of the topics that I cover in there, along with environment lifecycle. And you will realize what an environment is once you start reading the book. Environment is basically a container model where you can think about logically connected applications, bots, and Power Automate flows can be put together. Quite often people like to match this to their business units, like HR department has one environment. Sales data is sitting in sales environment. Marketing data sits in marketing environment. So think about that environment as something like that. Moving on, there is also an option to say, as I said, the Teams, Dataverse for Teams thing is very much tightly coupled with Microsoft Teams. But if you think there are capacities and restrictions and capability restrictions that comes in the boundaries of the Teams, you have an option to upgrade from Dataverse for Teams into a full Microsoft Dataverse environment, which is the solid business-ready business applications platform, which you can leverage. And I do cover some of those aspects of when you should think about upgrading and why you would upgrade. Section 4 is an interesting topic. Again, it's a much more advanced topic, mostly applicable in enterprise world. How do you tackle security and governance? Obviously, every organizations these days have to take care of their security. And to take care of security, you need to have strong governance policies. How do you make sure the data that you store is encrypted, along with there is regular backups taken, so that if someone steals the data, you have a backup that you can fall back on. Then I do cover some of the security principles like least privilege model and other aspects that are revolving around security and governance in this chapter. Finally comes the chapter number 11, which is licensing for Microsoft Dataverse and Dataverse for Teams. So quite often I find some of our customers and some of the folks that I talk to understand what type of license do I need to use this product. So let me just make this announcement here. To use Microsoft Dataverse for Teams, you absolutely need just your Microsoft account to get started or to learn with your developer license. Basically, it's anybody with a Microsoft account and can go and get started there. But once you're starting to use it in an enterprise world, or you want to deploy this for end users to use it, you need to have a Microsoft Office or Microsoft 365 license. That's all you need to get started on Dataverse for Teams. That's a little bit quickly about what are the contents in my book. And I would urge you to all take a look. And definitely, because this book is also about how you can uplift your career, change your career, and get into building applications, feel free to gift this book to your friends and colleagues and family, or whoever wants to get into technology field. This book will definitely help them to get addicted to the platform and how they can start building applications without having the steep learning curve of learning a coding language, understanding data structures, and all those things that typically tends to put off people who are not from a technical background. But at the same time, I would say even professional developers can benefit from this book, because there is a lot of reusable components that are already made available through Power Platform that you don't need to invest time in building the thing again. For example, how often would you keep building the button control? How often would you keep building the gallery view, the grid control? All those controls are available to you through the power of Power Apps, and similar things on the Power Automate side as well. How often do you want a trigger when a certain data condition is met, or how often do you want to be alerted or through an email or through SMS? These scenarios are already pre-packaged for you in Dataverse and Dataverse for Teams platform, or in general, the Power Platform. So feel free to give a read, and definitely post your reviews on Amazon and LinkedIn. Thanks for giving your time. Bye.